movies before he goes out and directs on his own. But the camera work in all three of those films is phenomenal.
Yes.
There's really great work with the camera in Blood Simple. There's a really famous shot where it's kind of tracking along the bar, and there's a drunk that's asleep on the bar, and as it nears him, it kind of goes up and over him, and then drops back down on the bar and continues to dolly. And then, yeah, the really super fast dolly shots in this film are very much an homage to Sam Raimi and his camera work in The Evil Dead. And Joel had worked on as an assistant editor on The Evil Dead, and because they had done work on Crime Wave as well. Oh, they helped co-write it.
Crime Wave?
Crime Wave, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of the notes, their connection to Crime Wave, the alarm button. There's only a really quick shot, but the alarm button that the clerk in the convenience store hits is the security company that's in Crime Wave. It's the same company. That was another homage to Sam Raimi, but the Coen Brothers helped to co-write that. I'm excited to go and revisit all the Sam Raimi movies because Blank Check just started their miniseries on them. But they go to make this movie. They actually wanted to do the Hudsucker Proxy after Blood Simple, but couldn't get the budget.
Yeah, nobody wanted to greenlight it, right?
No, but nobody wanted to do it. They're producers at Circle Films, which made Blood Simple and Raising Arizona. Raising Arizona was released by Fox, but Circle Films produced it. So they can't do Hudsucker Proxy, so then they do Raising Arizona instead. Was it about 5 years later? I think is when they actually get a chance to do Hudsucker Proxy for Warner Brothers. And they budgeted at $25 million. Unfortunately, the movie, it only makes 11. Kind of considered like one of their lesser films. I really like it a lot. I think it very much harkens back to those other like kind of screwball 40s movies as well. And Jennifer Jason Leigh is great in it as like the real fast talking, almost like His Girl Friday reporter.
Is there a movie, just out of curiosity, is there a movie that you feel is lesser than the Hudsucker Proxy, like in their filmography?
Oh, Lady Killers. There is some good stuff in Lady Killers. I love Zima in it as like the silent Vietnamese guy, and I love J.K. Simmons in it. I don't care for Intolerable Cruelty. There's a couple of decent things in it, but overall I'm just extremely meh on it. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
What about that Caesar movie?
Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar's okay. I think what disappointed me at first watching it was I thought it was more of a straight narrative. Instead, it's like more or less a bunch of vignettes, and the only person that kind of connects all of them is Josh Brolin's character.
Oh, okay.
But on the second rewatch I did of that, I enjoyed it much more. But other than those two that I just named, I'm not sure if there's a movie of theirs that I haven't really enjoyed.
So you do like Oh Brother?
I love Oh Brother. That's great. I think that's the only other movie that Holly Hunter appears in for them. I don't think she's in any of the other Coen Brothers movies, which is unfortunate because she's so good in Raising Arizona.
Are you sure? She's not.
I tried looking really quick before we got together to do the show to see if she had done any other ones. Just really quickly scanned her filmography, and I don't remember any other ones popping up. I know that she's in No Brother because she's Clooney's wife, but I don't think she's in any other films. Love that one. I honestly, I don't know if there's any other ones that I just really don't care for. besides Intolerable Cruelty and The Lady Killers. Intolerable Cruelty, they didn't write solo. I think other people wrote that and they just directed it. And like I said, it's okay. But the last time I watched it, I just didn't care. There's so many other stronger films from them that I could easily like skip over those two. But the Hudsucker Proxy kind of sinks them for a while. It's Fargo that brings them back. But I like the Hudsucker Proxy. I definitely suggest you watch that if you haven't seen it. And Barton Fink is great.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Which is another really great Goodman showcase as well, as this one is.
This is the start of of Goodman and their working relationship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's in, what, like 4 other movies for him?
They did Inside Llewyn Davis, correct?
Yeah, he's in. Yeah. I think that was the last one he did with him. But there's kind of a gap, because I don't think he's not in any of their 2000s movies besides Oh Brother.
I wonder why.
Yeah, but he's great in Barton Fink. I was thinking last night when I was rewatching it, I was thinking Raising Arizona, Barton Fink, and The Big Lebowski especially are like his movies where he's very loud and boisterous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they think that they left when they realize that they left the baby behind.
Yeah.
And he and Yvelle are just screaming.
And they turn the car around and they go back and forth. It's like, it's madness.
And he's very loud and shouty especially the end of Barton Fink. And then obviously he's like that really obnoxious, overbearing character in The Big Lebowski. When he's getting angry at at Smokey for going over the line. But he's so good. I hope that he works with them some more.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know if we mentioned it when I talked about the tragedy of Macbeth. I think Ethan is kind of getting out of the directing game. I think he wants to write more and produce for stage. So I think Joel right now is just kind of going solo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tragedy of Macbeth was a solo project for him. That was the first one.
His first outing, right?
Yeah. He's the sole credited director on most of their movies through, I think The Lady Killers is the first one where they're both credited. So that's 2004. But everything prior to that, he's the sole credited director.
Was that due to like...
That's probably Directors Guild rules.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they both obviously worked on it. They both wrote it. Ethan produces it. I think they probably worked as a team for the most part, but I'm willing to bet that the sole credit is probably a Directors Guild thing. And then somehow they were able to convince the Directors Guild, because I've heard that before, that the Directors Guild only likes one director.
Yeah.
One named director.
Especially if they're going to do 2, they have to be related, right?
They will usually make an exception if they're related, the Coen Brothers. But for some reason, I mean, they weren't both directing the films, at least for a period of time. But it's pretty rare when you see movies that are directed by 2 people that are not related. It happens, but pretty rare. But going back, Tragedy of Macbeth is a solo outing from Joel. But I do hope that Joel folds in Goodman, at least for a couple more movies. Because he's always been a lot of fun when he's on screen in their films. Yeah.
Or just in general. I wish we saw... I know he has the Connors now and everything.
Is that show still going?
Yeah. They kept it going because I think they just killed Roseanne off.
I know they did, and then like pandemic hit, so I don't know if because pandemic killed off a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that show was one of them. But if it's still going, I mean that's good. Gets the paycheck.
Atlanta's back. On a side note,
I know.
Finally,
and the fourth and final season I think is going to be on this fall. So I'm not even going to bother watching the third season. I'm just going to wait until they air the fourth, and then I'll just like do a rewatch of the entire show.
That's actually a good plan. Dude, the first, I'm not going to ruin anything for anybody out there, but this first episode completely blew me away. It's like a full horror movie.
Well, I enjoyed their first season, but their second season was out of this world.
Yeah.
Like, with the amount of different ways they were telling stories and, like, just the different genres that they kind of touched on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was really blown away by the second season, so I'm excited that it's back. It's nothing against it, like me not wanting to watch a third season right now. It's just I know the fourth season's going to air this fall, so I just figured I would wait and just watch them all together.
Yeah, why not? It's definitely binge worthy.
Yeah, it's a really great show, and I'm glad that everyone kind of blew up off of that show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, Glover was already on Community and already had comedy stuff, so he was already like the big name. But Zazie Beetz and Lakeith Stanfield and Brian Tyree Henry, I'm glad that they all blew up afterwards because they're all fantastic on screen, and not only in that show but in the various films that they've been in. Excuse me. Well, let's get back to Raising Arizona.
Let's do it.
So they write specifically for Holly Hunter, who they know through Frances McDormand, and Frances McDormand pops up as you mentioned in the write up at the very beginning. She pops up as Dot, her friend, her super obnoxious friend, her and her husband Glenn.
Oh man. Like nails on a chalkboard. And those kids, when they first get there and they just cut to they're like, hey, get away from your uncle's car, and they're just totally wrecking.
There's just like that shot of them just like beating the shit out of the car. Or even when they're inside the trailer and Glenn's talking to HI and the kids are just running around crazy and the one's like spraying the water gun on HI's in the front of HI's pants and the other one's riding on the wall.
Fart.
They're just shitty kids, and Glenn mentions that they want more because Dot says the kids got too big for her to cuddle with. Mm-hmm. So that's why they want to adopt more. And there's also the really the scene afterwards where they're sitting at the table about to have lunch,
mm-hmm.
and Dot just keeps asking Ed about, do you have this? Do they have their shots? Do they have a pediatrician? And Ed just kind of keeps referring to HI, and he just has that blank look on his face.
Like he's just, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And then the little girl's like throwing stuff at HI.
Yeah, he's distracted.
And then after that, there's one of my favorite scenes in the film that even when I was young, I always loved when him and Glenn are talking,
mm-hmm.
and then Glenn brings up that like Dot thinks that HI is cute, and he's like, oh yeah, because we're swingers, and he brings that up, and he's like, yeah, what do you think about that? He's like, yeah, Ed's really cute too. And then there's HI hits him. And then the camera angle after Glenn hits the ground, HI's like 20 feet away from him. Like he punched him and he flew that far. It's the like ridiculous over-exaggeration.
Doesn't he get up and he's like, I feel sorry for you, and then he runs into was like a pole or something?
Yeah, runs into like a pole or a cactus. As he's like running away from him, and then he shows up later, and he's got like the full-on neck brace, and
he's like, "I hope you have the money for the medical bills that are coming your way."
But they write it for Holly Hunter, although I had read that Kate Capshaw had turned it down.